Hi, welcome back. So one of the topics I get asked a lot about when I go on to webinars or other presentations is about HFTs, high frequency trading firms. And a lot of people ask, well, how can you make money trading futures manually? Surely the HFTs take away all the edge. And that's a kind of a generic statement that's often made by retail traders, often said to them by people that are teaching them. And I think what it does is it shows a lack of understanding of what HFTs are, how they operate, and potentially how we can trade alongside or with them. Also important to note that sort of the heyday for HFTs was several years ago now, and many have closed down since then. But if we look, my latest newsletter has a more in-depth look at of HFTs, how they trade, and it was written in conjunction with Rob from Discovery Trading Group. Check him out on Twitter, one of the most knowledgeable guys in the futures industry going around. So I'm going to touch on some of the points in this video about HFTs. So the first thing to understand about them is the actual speed that they trade. They're trading in microseconds. In the time it takes you to blink, they've already traded. We literally can't see the markets at the speed that they're trading. So it's very hard for us to compete with them when we can't even see their trades. Realistically, they're more often competing with each other. They're trading in microseconds. We can't get anywhere near that. And retail order flow is essentially too slow and infrequent for them to base a living off. And again, a lot of retail traders are taught, oh, the HFTs are picking you off, and they're a they. And one of the things I've said before, when I hear people say, they trapped you and they are doing this, it's just absolute nonsense. This idea that there's either a cabal or that certain groups are doing certain things. It's just not true. In this sense, HFTs are the time frame they're trading, often trading against each other rather than us. And just coming back to the they thing, again, another topic, another issue that people talk about with HFTs is, oh, they're going to trap you, and then they do all this. And look, these guys are holding trades, like I said, for microseconds, for tiny periods of time. They really try not to have exposure to the market. They want to be in and out before you can blink. So there is no reason for them to manipulate the market, move the market, because they don't hold positions like that. The only people that would be trying to move a market in some way would be someone with a position to either protect it or to try and get either in or out of it. These guys don't. They're in and out in a flash. So the idea that HFTs are trying to trap you in that is really, almost most of the time is just not going to be happening. So they're trading microseconds. The other point about that trading on different time frames is we can trade against people on different time frames. In the same way, if I'm in and out of a trade in 2 seconds, I can trade against someone who perhaps has a 3-hour view, okay, and we potentially both might make money because we're trading with different time perspectives. The same can be true of anybody on different time perspectives. So again, we shouldn't feel like we can't trade against an HFT. We're trading on different time horizons, and as I said, most of the time anyway, they're going to be in and out before we can even blink. So understanding that is a really key part to understanding that we shouldn't be scared of them, and that's really what I want to get across. We shouldn't be scared of them. Also in the newsletter, I talk about and explain in more depth what it means when you trade higher volume. And again, a lot of retail traders and the people that teach retail traders have never operated at a high volume capacity, and it changes the game completely. So again, look at the newsletter. The link is in the description below. And I've gone through some numbers and put a small table together to show you how when you trade extremely large volume, the game changes completely. Your profitability levels can change because of the fees involved. With HFTs, you've got to look at the fact they're trading over 100,000 contracts a day. Okay, this is the sort of volumes they're trading. They're in and out very, very quickly. They want to trade over 100,000 a day, and the CME actually has essentially a volume group for this, which is I think 135,000 contracts a day, and that's the bracket of volumes that this group will be placed in. And as I say, look at the newsletter, because I explain how trading huge volume changes the game as well. And if a lot of people don't understand that, And if you don't understand how volume changes the game, you have a very different perception about how these guys are trading and what they're trying to achieve. So volume, being a high volume trader, changes again the way they trade. And what I want to explain here is that, once again, we shouldn't be afraid of them. They're playing a very different game to us. We can trade against them. It's not necessarily the case that they always have edge over us. They have different edge to us, and their volume actually is a very large part of their edge. And I say, if you operate in a retail environment, a lot of people that teach and educate retail traders don't understand the edge that volume can bring. Anybody that's worked in a professional capacity can see that, and I try to explain that in the newsletter as well. So HFTs, are part of this market. I don't think we should fear them. I think you should understand them, understand what your edge is, and stick to your edge. Just one final point on HFTs. I've said already that they're not really actively trying to move the market. That wouldn't be what they would, that doesn't really mean anything to them. They're just in and out in a flash, so they're not trying to be active market players. As generally market makers that work that way. Anybody that tries to trade at a market making style is not trying to be an active player in moving the market. But just one other thing, people often think they're trading in big size. And in the futures market, which is what I'm concentrating on with the newsletter and this video, in the futures market, they're not going to be trading big size. Again, I've had emails recently from people saying, I want to become a big trader. How would I do it? Why do you want to become a big trader? Frequency, and I've had a video and newsletters on this. If you haven't watched them, watch the videos, read the newsletter about frequency. Frequency is the way to go. This is where professionals want to go. So they would rather trade 100,000 times a day trading 2 lots than trade 5 times a day trading 100 lots. And that's the way to go. So again, these HFTs are not trading big size. They're often trading very small, between 1 and 5 contracts, but doing that in huge size. If you think about it, what you have to understand when you start trading in a high frequency is, what is the liquidity like at the time frame I'm trading? So if you're trading for microseconds, how many contracts roughly will trade in a microsecond? Okay, and then you want to be a percentage of that. So you're not going to be trading 100 lots or plus, okay? You are going to be trading small size. So check out the newsletter as well. I hope, again, trying to educate you more about HFTs, how they really operate, and why we shouldn't be scared against them, because they're playing a different game.